What would you say the most credible or desirable candidate would present as? Like what are you looking to see specifically when you're meeting someone for the first time?
So, first and foremost, if I know you already, right? So if you came to me as a referral, that's a huge step in a different direction, right? And that sets you apart from a candidate that didn't. Then the next thing I would like to know is what is it that you're looking to do? And I'm always going to ask that. What is it that you would like? Because just because you're writing summaries right now doesn't mean that you don't want to write narratives, right? I don't know what that is, and I'm going to want to know. So those are questions that I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask specifically about your experience, what type of writing you've done, how you've done it, what milestones you've hit. Those are notes I'm going to want to take so that I can sell you to my client at a later time. And to be sure you're the right person for the job, right? There's some clients that are going to be more timeline focused. They're going to more deadline focused. There's going to be less training. I'm going to need to know, what writers are going to be able to thrive in that environment and which writers wouldn't. So it changes, and it changes every day. I mean,
Mm.
and it's an interesting thing to say, but today I could be looking for a regulatory writer, and tomorrow I'm looking for somebody to write for a Congress, and it's like that all week.
So one thing that we are doing is we are creating websites for each individual to present their story, their niche, their background expertise with some writing samples on there that they are allowed to show people that they've created themselves. So then we're usually approaching the resume as more of a one-page summary of their relevant experience in medical communications, again, highlighting their niche and the kind of writing that they want to do. We put the URL of the website on the resume. Would that be sufficient for you to then find the samples, or would you also like them to be linked in the resume or attached to an email? Or
I mean, every recruiter might have different preferences. So sometimes I print out resumes, real old school, right? But I'm going to take them somewhere with me, right? Because I'm going to and I live in the mountains, so I'm not going to have internet access, but I know I'm going to be at this coffee shop. I'm going to write all over these resumes to the questions that I'm going to want to ask later. If I have to go to a URL, that's one more step that I'm going to have to take when I come back to my desk.
Mm.
So I'd like to see it all there.
Okay,
Even
yeah,
as an addendum, even if your resume is one page, but you have an addendum that's another page, or
yes.
I personally like to see it all there.
Yes, I think the addendum is a great idea because then everything is clean and organized and structured, but then you can just list as many things as you want, however many links or,
Yes,
maybe even like a one sentence or two sentence description of what it is that they did and who the audience was or who the client was. Then it just gives it all to you right there and you don't have to go anywhere.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that
Again,
makes a lot of
because
sense.
yeah. And we're often limited on time, right? How much time
Mm.
we can spend with each resume can be limited.
Mm. Yeah.
Obviously, once it's grabbed our attention and you're the resume that we're going to work with, we have more time, right?
Mhm.
But you've got to get there.
Yeah, because if someone has just red markup all over their resume, they're probably going to make it to the bottom of the pile and then never be seen again. Yeah,
It
that makes sense.
happens,
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately.
yeah, as soon as you have to go hunting for things, I mean, it's just so time consuming if you've got to do that for 200 people. So I definitely feel you on that. And I think as well, this is where it helps to have links in your email signature just to
Yes.
to send people immediately there when you're already talking to them, because otherwise they have to go digging for things and it's just not practical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And some of your writing is going to be shareable and some of it's not. And we understand that. Some of our clients will give you a writing test, regardless of what type of writing they want you to do. They'll request a
Mhm.
writing test because CSRs and some of those other things you just can't share.
Hmm. Yes. So I guess in that sense, the addendum could have a description of the project, but not a link out to it because you can't show that. And then you can just put confidential in brackets or something. So that way you can still leverage your experience without breaking any rules.
Yes.
Got it.
And any recruiter that's done this at all will understand. If
Yeah.
it's not out on like ct.gov or it's not on clinicaltrials.gov, that we're not going to be looking at it. Something we look for is consistency, right? So if I'm looking at your resume and your resume says you've done regulatory writing for 7 years, but your LinkedIn profile says you've done it for 4, I'm going to want to ask, I'm going to want to know why. And then those questions start piling up.
Yeah. And then that they become like a secondary priority when you've got people who are matching up in all these areas and you don't have any question marks or any red flags at all. You can just move them forward pretty quickly because you've got clients who need writers. So you're kind of up against the time limits yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And especially with consultants, it's a little bit different with full time roles, but with consultants, they want people right away. And they want someone that can start right away, that knows the job, that doesn't need a lot of hand holding and that really can bring the project to where it needs to be.
Mm. So, what's the best way for somebody to work with you? If they reach out when they have everything ready, it might not be the best time for you if you don't have anything on the table at that time, or maybe not something that's a good fit. So, is it a case of revisiting every quarter or something, or should they wait until you post that something's available, or do things get listed on a website or an email? Like, how would you prefer that people engage with you?
So I would say, and this is what I do with clients as well, I reach out even when they're not looking for me, right? Because I want to build that relationship with them so they know where my expertise and where my dedication is. And it's the same for my candidates. If you come to me at a time when I'm not inundated and I'm able to have a conversation and we're able to build rapport, it's going to put you in a different place in my memory, right? So the next time I have these clients that have, for example, you had 3 years of schizophrenia writing experience, that was something that you were very passionate about. And so therefore I remember that, right? So the next time I get a client that says, I need a writer in CNS, I'm going to remember you. So
Mhm.
those things make a difference. So
Yeah.
reaching out is important, whether, and if you can do it at a time when you can get some time on their calendar and get some face-to-face time, that really helps. So I think that LinkedIn is very inundated with a lot. But if you start a relationship with someone, it is not a bad way to keep in touch, to comment on their posts, to repost their posts, to react to their posts. It keeps you somewhat fresh in there. It can keep you somewhat fresh in their mind. And it's again something else that you might be doing that other people aren't doing. So
I'm so glad you
something
said
to keep
that.
in mind.
Yeah, because that is the mentality that I always have with LinkedIn. Because even if we don't know who's looking at our posts or if anybody's looking at it, there are so many people there who read them, but they don't say anything. And then they
Right.
go to your profile and they check you out and they put you in the back of their mind. And then if they keep seeing you, then they might even make a referral to somebody else, even if they don't hire you themselves. So I do think I agree with you. It's so important as well because a lot of things get buried and it's not like every time you post somebody's going to see it, so they might only see a very small proportion of what you're putting out there, because sometimes people feel like they're being very repetitive or they're saying the same things, but they should be because that's their specialty. And so again, when you think about how people are only seeing a fraction of what you put out, it just makes sense to keep going. Even if you're not seeing that engagement or people aren't commenting, they are definitely seeing, you're seeing it. So this is all the proof we need.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that, first of all, you do have to be a little bit flexible because it depends on when you're extremely busy, when you have more openings and you're trying to sort of manage your own schedule and spread things out. So you'd rather be using those quieter periods to have these initial calls and kind of set the ball rolling. But then also just making sure that first impression really counts, because you might not have that much time to get across your expertise and stand out and be someone who's memorable. And again, that's what we focus on so much in this program. And I think this is where you and I can work well together, because my role is to help make sure that the people building out their freelance businesses are very niche focused and that they know how to showcase their expertise very confidently and very clearly. So even when I introduce people to you, I always want to make a statement that clearly communicates and very succinctly, this person specializes in this area, these are their strengths, this is what they're looking to do. Because I imagine you just get inundated with requests and general, do you have anything in this area? And it's so broad that you probably don't even know where to start with it.